All right, welcome back. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. It's not every day, it's new hardware day. Recently bought Cube Control's F Pro, came in earlier today. So kind of wanted to show that wheel a little bit, give you some first impressions. I'm no hardware expert, I'm no reviewer. So what we'll be doing is just talking about it, giving some impressions, first experiences with the wheel. So I almost did an unboxing video, but I figured we've seen a lot of those. Probably don't need another one. I did want to mention a few things though. The packaging from Cube Controls is top notch. Everything came in very well protected. No real issue. No chance, I guess, of real significant damage from anything they did from a packaging point of view. I did note that the wheel actually came in a cloth bag of some kind, like looks super fancy. Like I bought like some I don't know, some super high-end fancy bag from Italy as opposed to a steering wheel. But thought that was pretty interesting and pretty cool. My GT wheel definitely did not come that way. And then of course they have a really nice sticker sheet that you can use to put, stickers all over the individual buttons to let you know what you set them to. It's so new to me, I'm going to use it for a few weeks and just try to get a feel for it, and then I'll go through the process of adding stickers and all those things. So I currently have been using a GT rim from Cube Controls for the last 12 months. Um, some of my previous experiences have been with Thrustmaster and some of the lower end, more plastic kind of wheels. So Cube Controls are the only two, what I'd consider like high-end wheels that I've ever used, so it's difficult for me to compare against, say, GSI or anybody like that. So I can't really do much of that, but I did want to kind of just talk a little bit about the differences between the GT rim that I have and now this F Pro, just with very quick impressions. Obviously, the quality is very similar. One of the main differences I noticed immediately is that on the GT rim, it has an Alcantara um, actual handle for the wheel, where this has a really interesting kind of almost rubbery, uh, kind of like not super tacky, but definitely a little rubbery, which I like this a lot better. I felt like with the Alcantara, I was almost required to use gloves. With this, I definitely feel like you could get away not using gloves, but I think I'll continue to do so for a while. So that was definitely one of the immediate things that jumped out. Um, the second thing that jumped out immediately when picking this up, this is much heavier than I expected it to be, and I think the expectation was mostly because I knew it was going to be so small. When I saw it, I also thought, wow, that's really small, and I knew I think it's something like 280 millimeters or 285, something like that. I knew it was going to be small, but it still surprised me how small it was. So I think the combination of how small I expected it to be and then how heavy it actually is, those were definitely some interesting first impressions. I've done a little bit of driving just to make sure that things are wired up and everything's going to work when we do this test here for some impressions. Has no impact really in terms of the heaviness is not a problem. The size actually is what I would expect from a Formula wheel. Especially coming from a GT rim. So no issues with those things. I think it was just an interesting first impression that I guess I just wasn't expecting. Something else I thought would be worth mentioning is kind of why did I buy this, right? So I have a GT Cube Controls wheel. I would consider that, it's a very high-end wheel. It's very nice. So why buy this? So one of the biggest reasons is I predominantly race Formula style cars, right? So having something that mimics that, I think, is just something that I was looking for again. I had a GT or a Formula style wheel prior to the GT rim, but that was Thrustmaster base and kind of like a whole different set of equipment. So to go back to something like this, I was super excited about. The top of the wheel would get in the way at certain times, and it definitely wasn't an issue with driving, but it was little things like replays or chat or just controls and things like that I thought was kind of interesting and not a huge reason to buy a wheel like this, but it was definitely something I was looking forward to. Another reason why I was looking for a wheel like this is just reachable buttons. So on the GT rim that I have, I pretty much had one button on either side of the wheel that I could easily access with my thumb without really moving turning my wrist around and kind of getting off of the wheel to come inside and click something that's mid or low on the wheel. So something like this, I have at least two buttons on either side that are extremely easy to click and touch. Arguably a third rotary dot. There's a couple things here that are very easy to touch with your thumb while very much in the act of racing. And I think for me, like that was a huge benefit and something I was looking forward to. Another, and this is also I think pretty specific to the Formula style racing, but having dual clutch. I haven't had a dual clutch before, so have not set that up yet. But I'm extremely excited about having that. I'm curious to see how that kind of impacts, my experience racing Formula cars. And I think one of the other benefits that I was really looking forward to with this wheel is just so many buttons, and you can see it's all lit up. I mean, there are a ton of buttons on this wheel, funky switches, rotary dials. I mean, you name it, it's there. And I'm looking forward to just having a lot more customizable. I guess more of an ability to customize my experience with having things on the wheel. I think this combined with the Stream Deck that I have, I can't imagine needing any more buttons for sim racing, but I'm sure I'll find a way. Alright, so now we're sitting in the rig. Get a couple first impressions with this wheel. Man, those shifters, super tight, sound great, a little loud. Not terrible. They definitely have a slightly different sound than the GT rim that I had, but yeah, no issue either. It just feels, the tactile feedback feels fantastic. Like you shifted that thing. I need to figure out what to do with this cable. This is actually, so the GT rim that I have is wireless. Real nice not to have kind of anything there at all. I don't know how durable this thing is. I hope it's quite durable. Currently have it going through the wheelbase here. Not sure if that's going to be the right way to go about that or not, or if I should bring it maybe over top or underneath. I'll figure that out later. For now, let's roll with it. Alright, cool. Have set a couple buttons. Not much. Pit limiter. Gotta have that one.
37 miles per hour.
Interesting. Let's say the force feedback's a little heavier actually than what I recall with the GT rim. Maybe I should pop it on and take a look at that. And I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that this rim is so much more narrow than the GT rim. I don't know. Yeah, these buttons feel fantastic. Yeah. Force feedback is definitely a little bit more aggressive. I haven't touched any of those settings. Definitely a little heavier or stronger than with the GT rim, which I guess makes sense. I don't think I'll change it. I think it actually feels pretty good. I am curious about the slides. Seems like it'd be a little easier to catch slides with a smaller diameter rim. Man, those shifts feel amazing. I mean, there is a distinct difference between the shifts on this and that GT rim. One thing I did with the SimHub software right out the gate is just turn the brightness down on these buttons. I think this is 35%, maybe 30. I like the blue. I like the look of the blue. I think that looks sweet, especially at night. Not that it's nighttime yet, but my little cubby in here, I can simulate darkness pretty much any time of the day. Just turning off the overhead lights. And it just looks really cool. And it's not too bright. I would say at 100% brightness, don't look directly at the light. They're aggressive. They're aggressively strong. This feels fantastic. The actual grips themselves, they feel so different. They are definitely thicker. I don't know if the GoPro is going to pick this up super well, but the back ends almost kind of like they sharpen out, not like it's actually pointy. It certainly rounds off on the back, But there's definitely like they're not completely circular. There's a little bit of square off almost on the back end, which actually feels fantastic. This feels so much better. So much better than the GT rim. That rim is extremely hard. I remember when I first got it, I felt like it kind of hurt my hands a little bit because it is so hard. Now, frankly, you get used to that pretty quickly, and then two, the gloves certainly help out with that. I like wearing the gloves at this point, so I think I'll probably continue doing so. But yeah, this feels so good. So you can definitely feel a little bit of squish to the both sides here, but not like in a bad way, like in a very comfortable way. It just feels fantastic. Just access. I mean, there's so much access. Like I talked about earlier, one of the reasons I wanted this thing was the ability to very easily get to so many different things. Yeah. Very cool. I mean, very easily can access 6 buttons easily with the thumbs, some rotary dials, basically 4 of those. I don't even know what I'm going to use all these things for. Switches, which I had on the GT, which I never really used them. I love the funky switches. You can't see it, but I basically mapped this from a black box, so I can easily go through the black box and then also adjust it with just those 2 funky switches, which is really nice to have. But yeah, I mean, everything on this just feels fantastic. These rotary dials feel very similar to what I had before in the GT Rim. There's just more of them. More of those is never a bad thing. What else is there to think about here? Man. I do really like the GT Rim that I had basically had the old school way for cube controls as far as how it would connect. So it was basically a piece of plastic. You'd screw that into the back and it would make that connection, and I just used it to charge it. And frankly, I don't remember a time where the red light ever came on. Like, I feel like that thing just lasts forever. So I would do it every so often just because. But anyway, that's the old school way of doing it. It definitely seemed like there was a little bit of opportunity for that to not go well over time. I never had a problem with it. In fact, now I actually have that cable and that wheel in my office so I can charge it up so I can use it for NASCAR and things like that. But this wheel has like a magnetic kind of connection. It's super strong. I don't know how well that's going to come across again on the GoPro, but I mean, that thing, you're probably 2 inches away from it and it's just pulling towards it and trying to get there. So that I don't think is going anywhere. That seems really safe. But I'm going to have to play a little bit with this cable and get a feel for how I should bring this in so that I don't risk kind of cutting it up, shredding it or something on this mount. So yeah, I can't think of much more to say about this wheel. It feels fantastic. I mean, I have a Cube Controls wheel. I kind of had a feeling of what to expect from a quality point of view. I would honestly say this exceeds that. I mean, just the look and the feel, like the actual quality of the product is. I mean, I don't know what more you could ask for, quite honestly. It looks great, feels great. It feels like a heavy-duty product. Like, this doesn't feel like a cheap piece of plastic, which obviously you would expect given its price point. So yeah, I mean, this feels absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to diving in some more, playing with some more of the features. Really want to figure these clutches out so I can set the bite point and figure out how to launch this F4 car. That'll certainly be a nice improvement from what I've had in the past. So yeah, I think that's all I've got for impressions. Let's wrap it up. Alright, cool. So I hope you enjoyed kind of a quick first impression of the Cube Controls F Pro. Again, I'm not a reviewer. There are far better people out there that do that. Boosted Media, highly recommend his channel. He does phenomenal work with like hardcore reviews. This was obviously some first impressions, kind of impressions of unboxing, a little bit of why I went from the GT rim to this formula style rim, a little bit of driving so you could see that. Obviously, I love the wheel. It's phenomenal. There are many things I haven't gotten into yet, right? So SimHub is something that's new with this wheel. I've downloaded it so I could at least just change some of the colors to see how it works, but I haven't really gotten into that yet. That's something I'll do here shortly. Button mappings, the dual clutches, those are things too that I just haven't gotten into yet. So still a lot to figure out. Initial impressions, super good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.